Hey guys, this is host Adi and welcome back to Comic Space, and today we have quite a major Spider-Man 4 update, Tom Holland's Spider-Man 4. So it was only recently announced that Spider-Man 4 will be coming out on July 26 or 2026 after the release of Avengers Doomsday and in between Secret Wars and Doomsday, as Marvel Studios was going to wrap up the whole multiverse saga with these three major films coming out in a row. But as it looks like Spider-Man 4 has already gone through a delay in the very early in the process, or it at least seems like it is not going to be make it out on that release date. And we also have an official working title for the upcoming Spider-Man 4 as well, which again doesn't tells you a lot about it, but does drops you a hint about how Marvel Studios is going to take this adaptation of Peter Parker or Spidey moving forward. So our today's update, our first update, is coming from Jeff Snyder, and again it is one of the sources that we like to cover frequently on the channel and also like to give a lot more reference than any other source as well. As he went on to state, I keep hearing that the filming for Marvel Studios Spider-Man 4 has been pushed until the end of 2025 or in the early months of 26. I don't think so it is going to be making out onto its 2026 summer release date. It can be pushed by some months. So one of the major things to talk about here is that if the filming is pushed by 2026, even though it is going to be in the very early months of 26, we are about to head into Avengers Doomsday. That makes the possible release date, if that happens, for Spider-Man 4 to the 2027, which is going to be just right around the corner of Secret Wars. So again, another very major thing to talk about here, I believe Sony is supposed to be releasing, according to how their whole rights situation works, that they have to release Spider-Man 4 by the point of 2027, which is going to be around the September month. They are supposed to be releasing a theatrical Spider-Man film by that point, or of course the rights will revert back to Marvel Studios, which is again, it does make some quite an interesting situation, and there's no way that Sony is going to let that happen whatsoever. That is not going to happen. Which again, another thing will be that Sony won't like to get closer to that release date or that deadline that they have of course in their mind. They don't want to get any closer to that. So again, Spider-Man 4 is still being written out, and the script of course is gonna go through a lot of iteration. Marvel Studios is still working on it, and again I think it is quite time that Marvel Studios also can't afford to push or delay any more films by a major extent, which again they don't also have a lot of release date on their schedule left. So again I think one of the most possible scenario, if Spider-Man 4 does get delayed, or much like No Way Home, it can take up the December release date and coming out at the very end of 2026. Maintaining the schedule and the continuity wise, of course, with Avengers Doomsday and Secret Wars, and the connecting point is going to be Spider-Man 4, but it is going to be in continuous straight story, which is going to be throughout these three films, which again it helps Marvel Studios a lot when you're telling this kind of a massive scale story with of course Secret Wars and another film that is supposed to be thrown out there, which potentially could be Doctor Strange 3, or it can be even Blade for that sake, which is again, it is not really concerning to, I don't think so, Sony, or I don't think so even for Marvel Studios whatsoever. They're going to get that film out by 26, which I thoroughly believe, even though it is delayed by some months, which is again Jeff Snyder also at the footnote also went on to said that it can be pushed by some months, which is again a much more realistic delay than it getting pushed until very into 2027. And they also have a lot of motion in the progress with the Spider-Man 4. They have started casting for some of the characters. Of course, right now we only have Tom and Zendaya. Justin Daniel Cretton is coming on to direct that film. But again, I think it is going to be quite interesting with how all of these things are going to be working, because Sony certainly is going to get that film out. There's like no question about it of rights getting reverted back to Marvel Studios, because Sony wasn't able to get that film out by the decided time. I don't think so it is going to be that situation ever. So another major update coming up from Cosmic Circus outlet, which again another major outlet which we cover frequently on the channel, as they went on to reveal the working title for the upcoming Spider-Man 4, which has been held under the title of Blue Oasis. So again, here's the thing. These are just working title, but recently we do have got a lot of some hints or reference, whatever that project might be. We are of course not expecting any hints of what the plot might be or how the story is going to go or anything major about any of the characters or story regarding, or then of course just in reference to some of the story from the comics as well. So again, I think one of the major stories that we can relate this working title to, it has to be Spider-Man Blue. and 6-issue series which was released in 2002, written by Jeff Loeb, with Peter being feeling blue or very much to himself, and of course retelling the whole story of how he and Gwen met. And there's the whole kind of thing to talk about, which is again in quite a great issue. You can go back and read it. We are not gonna get too much into it because again I think one of the major things to kind of point it out of it, how that adaptation of character is going to be looking like, which is again quite evident, and given the fact on what note Marvel Studios left No Way Home with again one spell that literally costs Peter everything. So again I think that is also one of the things that is going to be dawned on him, which is again going to be such a major aspect of the character moving forward with when we meet Peter back with Avengers Doomsday and leading up to Spider-Man 4, when that Venom symbiote makes Peter his host. And I think that character dynamic can actually work, which is again going to be such an integral thing with Peter feeling blue. So again it is going to be quite interesting when we get to that kind of stuff, when we get to Avengers Doomsday, when we get to Spider-Man 4, when we get to official trailers, when we get to everyday TV spots. That is going to be something else. So I think it is time for me to see you guys off on this one. I'm so glad that you guys got the time to hear me out. Thanks for listening to me. This is your host Adi signing off. See you in the next one.